In this video, I'm going to recreate popular Sonic the Hedgehog video games in LEGO. Some of the most requested installments will finally be getting a corresponding build. I fully embraced being the LEGO Sonic guy. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I love our favorite blue rodent, and there's so much variety in the games, which proves to be a fun building challenge. You'll see that on display in today's video, so let's go ahead and get started. The first game on the list is a highly requested one, Sonic Adventure. It was released in 1998, has a 9 out of 10 on Steam, though I don't think it compares to Sonic Adventure 2, the Squeakquel, which we've already built in LEGO. Here's the base we'll be using. As per usual, I began by tiling it off. I'm going to be using these cool dark gray plates and placing snot bricks around the perimeter. I want to emphasize the egghead tech vibe this boss has, so I'm adding 1x2 grill bricks. Oh yeah, we're building the Egg Viper boss. This is what a Viper looks like, and here's what an egg looks like. Clearly, Eggman does not adhere to typical naming conventions. A little funny tidbit is to find these modified plates, I dumped all of my plates onto my bedroom floor. Would this make a hard album cover? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, what games should I build next? By the time this video is over, we'll have built all of the games that you're seeing on the screen. Starting on the Egg Viper, the first thing I did was construct segments of its tail, alternating between large and small sections. I'm using brackets and cheese slopes to round out each segment, and I took 1x1 modified bricks and sloped grilled tiles to finish them up. I should mention, I found a 3D render of the Egg Viper from Sonic Adventure, which helped out a ton during the building process. Some areas of the render are a little scuffed, but it helped me flesh out the build on the angles that were harder to see during the gameplay. Moving on, this was the most difficult part, the trio of panels that open to reveal a hedgehog fryer. I went through several versions of this particular segment, but I think the final design looks good, even though the weight is terribly distributed. Finally, the main portion of the Egg Viper. I gave it directional fins to help Eggman steer, turbine engines to help it keep up with Sonic, a cockpit for the Egghead himself to reside in, and blaster cannons for extra firepower. Okay, this build was a great learning experience. I didn't anticipate how large the Egg Viper would end up being, and the composition of the build currently looks very rough. So I'm going to take a base meant for a different game and restructure how the build is laid out. Rather than heavily relying on verticality, it'll be more of a horizontal build. After some adjusting, here is the build. The focus is on the Egg Viper itself, and I love how it turned out. I spent almost a week designing this machine monstrosity with a strange name, but the final product is so imposing. In my research for this build, I learned that this boss fight is widely considered one of the hardest in any of the Sonic games, mainly due to how glitchy Sonic Adventure is, on top of how small your window of opportunity is to damage the boss. Also, it turns out that even after you claim victory, Eggman goes down kicking, requiring some quick reflexes to fend off his desperate attempts to avoid being scrambled. Back to the mock, the color palette is so cool, and I finally get to use the orange heart tile I got from Brick Fair, Virginia. There's a lot of angles and techniques that go into making this thing possible, but a magician should never reveal all his secrets. I do want to say, this is probably my favorite Eggman boss I've built so far. Sadly, it wasn't enough to defeat Sonic, so let's move on to the next game. Flashing forward to 2011 when Sonic Generations came out, funnily enough, it also has a 9 out of 10 on Steam. Wow, in a void, it feels like Sega's never made a bad Sonic game. Anyway, Generations is another popular request, and for good reason. It sees the return of my favorite boss fight, the Egg Dragoon. Not the Mech Dragon, that's a different dragon-themed contraption with the intent to kill a mangy hedgehog. No, this is the Egg Dragoon with 2 O's. Does the script sound familiar? I'm taking a page out of Sega's book and stealing from myself. The Egg Dragoon has appeared in several different games. Eggman loves to reuse this mech, but as they say, third time's the charm. Or fourth. Or fifth. Anyway, I started working on the base of the mock, tiling it off and placing down some lava texturing. In the reference material, you can see that they're running through a tunnel that sits above some lava. I built a frame to support the actual build. I imagine the Egg Dragoon is going to be pretty heavy, so hopefully this foresight will pay off. You can also see that there's some black bricks on the back side of the build. That's to help support the back wall, but I'm going to thin the platform as we go so you can see the lava underneath it all. I created a glass panel to run along the path and surrounded it with red plates. Here's what it ended up looking like. This level takes place in a tunnel, so to get that shape across, I'm building several long panels that'll rest on sloped bricks. The first of these features patterns of 2x2 round white plates surrounded by 1x1 tiles. The second uses sloped grilled tiles and dark red tiles, and I accented this one with some dark azure, and then I set both of them in place. To finish the backdrop, I took several of these pieces in black. Typically they're used for tree branches, but I'm using them in combination with the inverted version to create a half-cylinder frame that'll house glass panels. Thankfully, the Avengers Tower came in clutch. No, not that one, this one. I was able to use the curved trans blue windows and top them off with some dark gray plates and tiles. After building several of them, I pulled it all together, and now we could finally start working on the Egg Dragoon. First, I took a Technic axle and trans clear cylinder bricks to hold it up. Going through one segment at a time, the legs are basically the same as the Sonic Unleashed version, but I added a tail with mixel ball joints for maximum posability. The lower body has been redesigned so it can be slotted into an axle bar, helping to keep it sturdy. The body and the arms are outwardly the same, but I did do some tweaking of the guts of the upper body to strengthen it some more. Finally, the wings. I created a hub to house the segments using the circular bar pieces. I stacked two of these on top of each other so I could double up on clips so the wing segments stay in place. The segments themselves are built out of trans blue bricks, red tiles, and some modified red and gray plates. Let's toss our minifigures in, give Sonic some rings, and now we're done. Building this beast was almost nostalgic. I built it for Sonic Unleashed over 6 months ago. The second version is very similar in a lot of areas, but the main additions are wings and a tail. This version is so much sturdier, which was a huge issue with the original design. Overall, I'm a lot happier with how this one turned out. The color palette of the tunnel is interesting, and the panels of windows give the idea that we're only viewing a portion of the level. The way I brought about the angles of the backdrop is relatively simple, but effective. I suppose that's the tip of the day. If you want to get some unconventional angles across, using slopes does wonders. You don't even have to worry about connection points, just rest it on the slopes and let gravity do the rest of the work. We've gone through a lot of Sonic builds these past few months. Maybe when I've been doing this for a year, I'll rank them all on my second channel. It would be like choosing a favorite child though, so I feel like it'd be pretty hard. Superstars is my least favorite. But this one might be my favorite Sonic build. Maybe Frontiers will top it though, so let's move on to that. The final build of the video is Sonic Frontiers.
Wait, Aaron, normally you do 4 builds. What gives? This is only 3.
I'm glad you asked, Higher Pitch Aaron. Initially I planned on including Shadow Generations, which just came out, but let's be honest, the Year of the Shadow deserves his own video. So, I decided to build every level in the Shadow campaign. If that sounds fun to you, be sure to subscribe. As you're watching this, I'm probably building manically to release it in a timely manner. Where was I? Oh, yes. Sonic Frontiers, released in 2022. It has a 9 out of 10 on Steam as well. For this game, I'll be building the Squid boss fight. I know at one point I said I would build Giganto, but Brickstoic got to it first, and he did an amazing job, so go check him out in the description. First, I began reworking the base to drop 1 brick, and replaced everything with green bricks and plates. I was having trouble placing the plates fully down, so I got my trusty Mouska tool and hammered my heart away. I hammered so hard I got black dust on my hands. Yes, I know this is a mallet, but malleted sounds stupid. For this build, I'll be covering the entire base with 1x1 dark green studs, similar to what I did with my Sonic and the Black Knight build. It kinda looks like a discolored honeycomb. Placing stems into all the holes was a long, grueling process. I ended up placing some rocks and a tan pathway to bring some variety into the landscape. I almost ran out of stem pieces, which has never happened to me before. This bucket is supposed to be full. My Discord suggested I switch the tan path for a sand green one, since that's more accurate to the source material. While I did that, my Bricklink order arrived. I got plenty of translucent purple plates and studs to recreate the path that Squid makes for Sonic to run on. This looks really sick, and it's a color palette I don't get to use very often. That's why I had to order all the purple parts. All because a boss Sega Design spits out a path for Sonic to travel on to defeat him. How considerate. Thanks, Squid. Except I'm not grateful to Squid. This boss was the hardest thing I have ever tried to tackle. Why in the world did I think building something which is characterized by its fluid movement would be a good idea? Out of Lego, no less, a toy that is iconic for its blocky texture, where trying to design circular and non-geometric shapes are something only the cream of the crop Lego builders even attempt to do. And on top of that, I was hit by a hurricane. This video was supposed to come out a month ago, but Hurricane Helene threw a wrench in my plan, and I pivoted to the Battle Bus video and the Cartoon War video, in no small part because of how stumped I was trying to build this wretched freak of nature. Frick Squid, all my homies hate Squid. Can we just skip to the final showcase? Yeah, please, thank you. I think the final version of this build turned out good. It was a difficult challenge, as you may have guessed, but from certain angles it looks insane. Mixel ball joints came in clutch for this build. You can see most of the tentacles are being connected by ball joints. Another thing I want to point out is the tentacles are built with hinge plates to allow for more posability. But I ran into a problem where gravity would just pull them down into a straight line, so I added these 1x1 bar elements to keep them in check, and that looks really cool. The purple and black trail looks amazing. There's so many 1x2 plates and studs in this segment, and it's going to be a hassle to take apart, but that's okay, it's just a minor issue. The final product looks incredible. I wasn't joking when I went on that little rant. This was one of the hardest things I've ever attempted to build, but there's a lot of value in that. If you're an aspiring LEGO builder, be sure to allow yourself to be challenged. That's the only way growth is going to happen. I think Master Wu said that. Be sure to follow the Chao LUG on Instagram to keep up with our LEGO Sonic shenanigans. I hope you enjoyed today's video. See you next time when I build Shadow Generations, and keep on inspiring.